Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today I want to talk briefly about Sigma's just announced $900 DGDN 28-70mm f2.8. I've only had the lens for a few days in the midst of multiple snowstorms, so I'll share only a couple of images with you today, more when I can do the lens justice in a separate video. In the meantime, though, I can cut to the chase because I know what my eyes and hands are already telling me, and that is this. This lens, combined with the most recent firmware update to Panasonic's 24-megapixel full-frame S5, which we have on loan, my now greater familiarity with the S5's autofocus system, and, the growing realization that the Leica SL2 I own and use as my personal camera for street photography is just too great as a video camera not to use it for video too, is making me seriously consider for the first time switching to full frame for all of our video work as well from our magnificent go-to video camera over the last 4 years, Panasonic's Micro Four Thirds GH5, which is saying a lot. Although when you boil it all down, it comes to this. 1. The DGDN 28-70 is small, light, fast, optically and autofocusly, is that a word? Performant, mechanically fit for purpose, and accessibly priced. My kind of lens. Most of the time. At just over 16 ounces, it's about half the weight of Sigma's own excellent $1,100 24-72.8 art lens and noticeably shorter and narrower. It uses a 67mm filter thread instead of its bigger brother's 82. It also autofocuses better than the art lens. It offers a minimum close focusing distance of just under 3 inches compared to the 24-70's just over 7. Which allows it to capture tack sharp images like this. At the other end of the focal range, when you rack it out to the full 70mm, still at f2.8, it is sharp, tasty, and call it bokadacious, while retaining some semblance of background like, well, this, because that's what I'm filming with right now. The Sigma is shorter, narrower, and lighter than arguably its closest competitor, Tamron's highly regarded 28-72.8 Di3 RXD, again with a closer minimum focusing distance. But what really sets this little Sigma apart from other recent Tamron lenses I've personally tested, the 24-35 and 70-182.8s, is that I noticed none of the chromatic aberration or distortion I saw in those otherwise excellent optics. Thing of it is, this Sigma is smaller and lighter than my $1,200 APS-C coverage Fujifilm XF 16-55 2.8, a lens with a slightly wider and longer field of view, I admit, and one of my favorite Fujifilm lenses of all time. A benchmark, in fact, for that field of view across all sensor sizes, in my book. The Sigma just might be as well corrected. The 28-70 even approaches the diminutive size, if not quite the low weight, of the $900 Micro Four Thirds coverage Leica DG Vario Elmarit 12-62.8-4 we used to own, but blows it out of the water optically with superior corner-to-corner sharpness and much better chromatic aberration correction. 2. What most strikes me about the lens is that its optical performance, if not quite as compelling as their latest I-series primes, especially the 65 f2, approaches or exceeds that of a number of benchmark zooms beyond Sigma's DG-DN2472.8 art, from which its optical design is derived. I'm talking about factory original lenses like the Holy Trinity prime I used for years, the OG Canon 28-72.8L. I think the Sigma is actually better, and Sony's $2,100 24-72.8 G Master. The Sigma might be as good or better. It certainly crushes Sony's, older, half the price 28-73.5 to 5.6 kit lens. In other words, this Sigma challenges my view, firmly held until this point, that Micro Four Thirds systems, that is cameras and lenses, are always dramatically smaller and less expensive than full-frame systems. Though there's still nothing in the full-frame world that can compete with the Micro Four Thirds Leica DG Vario Elmarit 50-200 2.8-4 for price, reach, and performance per cubic inch. Of course, there are trade-offs. First, we forego an extra 4mm worth of field of view at the bottom end, up to 35mm worth at the top end, when compared to today's 24-70 f2.8 Holy Trinity zooms or 24-105mm f-kit lenses. 24 is my favorite field of view for a wide angle, but for video, I'm willing to let it go, and I already own a 24, the Sigma 24 3.5 in fact, which I bought a few weeks ago. At the long end, we already own Sigma's DG-DN85 1.4, which we bought a couple of months ago, and it is killer. I think Claudia has just made it her lens. Still, if you don't have these focal lengths and could only have one lens, for most of us, this particular 28-70 is just, maybe, the most overall compelling mid-zoom out there, especially, and a bit ironically, I think, if you consider street photography, which is our jam. At the wide end, 28 was the lens of choice for the legendary Gary Winogrand, and, as it happens, the focal length of the fixed lens attached to today's extraordinary little Leica Q2 and Q2M. In the age of COVID and social distancing, Claudia and I now rely on either 65 or 85mm as our new street normal. The Sigma is small enough, light enough, fast enough, enjoyable enough, and tasty enough that you could just leave it attached to your L mount or Sony FE mount camera all day long. It is available for either, shipping in mid-March. No need for any other lens or bag to carry them. What a concept. Second, there's no lens IS. This would matter more to me if the lens were longer or if my camera didn't have IBIS, but it does, as do all full-frame L-mount and Sony hybrid cameras. Okay then. Third, the barrel is not metal, nor does it have an aperture ring. It relies instead, as so many new lenses do, for aperture control on the camera itself and uses composite construction, which is not an issue for me personally when all is said and done. I think my favorite full-frame prime lens lineup these days, Nikon's Nikkor Zs, are constructed the same way. The Sigma does feel very good in hand. It is stable across temperature changes, and it is nicely sealed. Finally, while it is fly-by-wire, both the zoom and focus rings are nicely weighted and controllable. That's kind of it for now. Call the Sigma DG-DN 28-72.8 surprising and unexpected. A wonderfully compact, accessibly priced, and real-world performant standard zoom. It is yet another proof point that Sigma is on a roll, and I am delighted. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, join the conversation below. Support our work using our no-cost-to-you affiliate links, buying Streets of New York the book, shopping our merchandise store, dropping us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, consider becoming a patron of ours via Patreon. Links for all down below. However you support us, as always, we thank you for it.